This is interesting. Minus 116s, minus 120s in the marketplace. We're seeing now minus 140s across the board and 6.5s on the total.
He's not a big strikeout pitcher. His metrics look terrible, but he somehow seemingly get 5 innings, 6 innings, only 1 earned run. It's because he's a super ground ball pitcher, induces that soft and medium contact. He can essentially sap the power away from the Dodgers.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What do you make of the season that Barkley had last year as he piled on the yards to get over 2,000, and what can that look like this year?
His year could have been much better with different circumstances here. So he was great. I assume he'll be great again. You want to take Jahmyr Gibbs? I don't have an issue with it, but, Barkley, you're going to lose the tush-push.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
How are you going to compete against a guy with 15 entries?
A lot of the guys that won Survivor at the Circa, because since I'm there every single year for contest weekend, one guy won it all with 1 entry. And the truth is, he told me that he maxed out his entries the next year because he had the money to do it. And it was a brain, it messed with his brain, right?
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Big Fish is the best player in the WNBA. She is running away with the MVP award. Why is that? Caitlin Clark, injured. Asia Wilson, not playing at Asia Wilson level, but it's more about the fact about what's around her has been an issue. So to me, Fish is almost like the MVP because everyone else has gone down in some way, shape, or form.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Great to be back with you here. It's our Tuesday edition of the show. Plenty of news updates in the world of the National Football League. We've got training camps opening across the country. We'll have the latest there. In addition, we'll bring in our SportsGrid insider, Adam Caplan, as he gets ready to make his training camp tour. Joe Pisapia checks in with the latest in Major League Baseball. And from Front Office Sports, we have Renee Washington on the show as well. So that and a whole lot more on this edition of the show. Let's get right to it with some recaps. We'll give you the latest on what Shohei Ohtani did again last night for the Los Angeles Dodgers as we get started. Let's get to the NFL with training camps opening. We learned a lot yesterday with General Manager Mike Brown, who spoke yesterday from the Cincinnati Bengals. It looks like Trey Hendrickson is not going to be reporting to training camp anytime soon. Along with the rest of the Bengals, he's the one that's sitting out. Of course, they have other players holding out as well. Hendrickson said that he would not play under his current contract and looks like right now one of the better defensive players in the NFL will either be looking for a trade or looking for a payday. As of right now, he is getting neither. Meanwhile, Stephon Diggs has been cleared for his first training camp with his new team. He's a member of the New England Patriots. If you haven't been paying attention this past offseason, he had an ACL injury last year with the Houston Texans and certainly has made some headlines this offseason, which had nothing to do with football. But Diggs is expected to play a prominent role in the offense that is now led by Mike Vrabel. He's the new head coach with the New England Patriots as well. You may remember the Tennessee Titans once upon a time, not that long ago, drafted Will Levis with the thought process he could be their quarterback of the future. That appears to not be the case. He was placed on injured reserve and is going to miss the entire season. Decided to have surgery, very strangely enough, right on the eve of training camp. And Brandon Allen now will be the backup for the Titans. Some speculation from some of the writers in Tennessee that Levis simply didn't want to be the backup to Cam Ward this year. Well, he's not going to be the backup to anyone. Then, of course, they can cut him after the season. So Levis unlikely to take any more snaps for the Titans. Meanwhile, let's go to the mound and to the plate as Shohei Ohtani was back in action yesterday for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And good thing for him that they won. It's been a tough go of it in the month of July. Ohtani homered. He also pitched 3 innings, and LA beat Minnesota by a final of 5-2. All-star Byron Buxton hit a leadoff home run, but the Twins didn't do much else after that. How about a full assessment from Ohtani? Here is Dave Roberts after the game talking about his start and his plate appearances.
I thought obviously the homer was great, and then he punched out a few times after that. I still thought he was fine in the batter's box. Tonight on the pitching side, I just felt that the location, the command wasn't what it was the last few outings. I don't think you can really argue or complain about an 0-1 sweeper. That's the second pitch of the game for the homer. But even after that, it was there was a lot more misfires tonight than there had been.
What do you attribute that to?
What's that?
What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. There was a I'm not sure how long he had in between his last outing. But maybe a little rust, but he calibrated when he needed to and made pitches when he needed to. There were some really good throws in there. So ultimately, he got through 3 innings, made pitches when he needed to, and the stuff was still really good.
Pitchers duel in Miami yesterday, seeing the Padres travel to South Florida, win game 1 of their 3-game set. Martin Maldonado had a big hit, Jackson Merrill another. 2-1 the final. San Diego beats Miami. Meanwhile, the San Francisco Giants just continue to struggle. The Braves score 5 runs in the first inning. The Giants are falling out of the race very quickly. Last night, unfortunately, it was courtesy of their starting pitcher of the Giants, Hayden Birdsong. He did not record an out. Gave up 5 runs in the first inning, back-to-back starts with some troubles for Birdsong, says manager Bob Melvin.
He was kind of teetering the last time and found a way through it. Today he couldn't, unfortunately. So, put us in a little bit of a bind with the pitching, obviously, and how we had to cover this game. But, not ideal, and kind of back to square one with him as far as some of the command issues go.
Did you have a conversation with him after the outing, or is he sort of just wanted to isolate himself? Or did he talk about how he felt?
I've talked to him. He's very understanding of what he needs to do.
How do you right the ship when command issues arise like this?
You got to figure it out. So he will.
There's a couple errors, throwing errors, but it seemed like the Acuna one where he was able to score was a little.
That's bad communication, is what it is. So Casey's got to let him know when he gets up. Chappie's trying to yell. It's just, Casey's still kind of learning the position too. It's just a bad look when you're playing like that and something like that happens in a game like this where we look terrible.
Meanwhile, the Milwaukee Brewers are the hottest team in baseball. That remains. They win their 11th straight game, and not a close one either. Milwaukee beats Seattle by a final of 6-0. The Brewers right now are gaining ground on the very best record in Major League Baseball, and it would appear that not only are headed to the postseason, but could be headed for a very active trade deadline coming up next week. Another team that's been hot, the Toronto Blue Jays. They beat the Yankees again, 4-1 the final in Toronto. The Blue Jays have won 11 straight home games. That is a franchise record as they are taking a bigger lead in that American League East over the Yankees. Don't really hear a ton of concern yet for the Yanks. Again, their trade deadline also coming up next week. Here's Aaron Boone on the latest play.
Bottom of the 5th wound up being pretty disastrous there. Just how do you process the way it unfolded?
Just not completing the play, Oswald had to range to his left, and Straw getting down the line quick, probably rushed his throw and pulled it a little bit, and then Volt just doesn't catch it real clean, and kind of as a result jerks the throw a little bit. But plays you got to make, especially against a team, playing as well as they are in this building, especially.
Why do you think you guys have not been able to play consistent, clean baseball? Now 6 errors the last 5 games against the Blue Jays.
Yeah, it's been here. We got to play better. It's, been a contributor to us not finishing off some games. And, around this place, I feel like we've been catching it well, but we got to do better than that.
Meanwhile, the Phillies went on a very bizarre play, in case you missed it, at the end of their game against the Red Sox. Good matchup there. 3-2 the final. Ends up being a walk-off catcher's interference, which is generally not something you see very often. In fact, that's how the game ended, not with the headgear there. Here's Rob Thompson after the game talking about that play.
No, just going off of Sosa's body language. when he started talking to the umpire, we really didn't have to go to the phone because, we got the freebie. So, but there's two things this year that I've never seen before in 40 years. And one is a walk-off inside the park home run and a walk-off catcher's interference.
This one felt better.
It did, surprisingly.
What made Lazar your choice in the top of the 10 category?
Just he's getting a lot of swing and miss, and just because of the curveball, that was a good matchup with that group of hitters. Oh, he's been great. I trust him. He's been really good, and he's got ice in his veins too. He's really cool out there.
Paul Skeens needs run support. He got a little bit yesterday. 3 runs is better than none, I guess. The Pirates end up winning against the Tigers by a final of 3-0. And rookie Bryce Matthews had 5 runs driven in as the Astros beat the Diamondbacks by a final of 6-3. In college football, real quick, Jake Retzlaff ends up transferring from BYU. Reports are he's headed to Tulane. Memphis is interested in joining the Big 12 and want to fork up some money, but it lacks some support. And also ACC Media Day starts today. We've got 5 teams set to meet with the media: Miami, SMU, Stanford, Cal, and Virginia. We'll play back some of that sound and video for you tomorrow on our next edition of NewsWire. Coming up next, Renee Washington from Front Office Sports is in the house. Don't go away.
This is interesting. -116s, -120s in the marketplace. We're seeing now -140s across the board and 6.5s on the total.
He's not a big strikeout pitcher. His metrics look terrible, but he somehow seemingly get 5 innings, 6 innings, only 1 earned run. It's because he's a super ground ball pitcher, induces that soft and medium contact. He can essentially sap the power away from the Dodgers.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
What do you make of the season that Barkley had last year as he piled on the yards to get over 2,000, and what can that look like this year?
His year could have been much better with different circumstances here. So he was great. I assume he'll be great again. You want to take Jahmyr Gibbs? I don't have an issue with it, but, Barkley, you're going to lose the tush-push.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
How are you going to compete against a guy with 15 entries?
A lot of the guys that won Survivor at the Circa, because since I'm there every single year for contest weekend, one guy won it all with 1 entry. And the truth is, he told me that he maxed out his entries the next year because he had the money to do it, and it was a brain. It messed with his brain, right?
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Big Fish is the best player in the WNBA. She is running away with the MVP award. Why is that? Caitlin Clark injured. Asia Wilson not playing at Asia Wilson level, but it's more about the fact about what's around her has been an issue. So to me, Fish is almost like the MVP because everyone else has gone down in some way, shape, or form.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's dive into the latest around sports. We'll talk some soccer, also some National Football League, some potential controversy coming up here for the Players Association, if not already. Renee Washington is with us from Front Office Sports. Of course, you can catch Front Office Sports every day here on SportsGrid as well. Renee, thanks for coming on NewsWire. Great to catch up.
Yeah, Craig, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right, so let's get started here with some soccer. And I know that this time of the year, it's kind of quiet. We're waiting for college football and pro football, the NBA, NHL to come back. And the MLS takes sort of center stage here a little bit. We're at the All-Star break here. And in the Eastern Conference, it's being led by a couple of teams, Cincinnati, Nashville, Philadelphia. They've had the best start in the East. In the West, it's been San Diego, Vancouver, and Minnesota. What do you make at this point of the season in the Major League Soccer?
I don't know that anybody would have anticipated this start to the season, especially because we'll start with, on the East, the Philadelphia Union and Nashville, two teams that struggled a little bit last year. We're kind of middle of the pack, but the Union have been off to a tear. They've gotten younger. They have Ty Baribo, an all-star that will be down here in Austin, Texas for the All-Star break, leading the charge for them. They've made some roster moves that have really panned out for them. And a team like Inter Miami as well in the East, of course, with Messi coming off of a brace and an assist in his last game. Always a team to keep an eye on as long as Messi's on the pitch. But then in the West, the surprise is the San Diego new team on the block. This is their first season in the league, and they have been top of the charts and taken over the West, which has been dominated by LAFC, who won last year, yet they're sitting bottom of the standings heading into the break after a terrible winless stretch to start the season. So this year kind of has flipped upside down, Craig, and a lot of surprises in how the season's been going.
Yeah, and even with the record, I'm looking at the current odds on FanDuel here. Renee, to your point, it seems like you can never count out Messi. And right now, Inter Miami CF is plus 410 to win, followed by the teams that have better records: Cincinnati, Vancouver, San Diego, and Philadelphia. And I guess that just speaks to the star power that Messi is. Do you think that those odds are fair? Should they be the favorite?
I think so. I think what the odds are counting on is that teams like the Philadelphia Union and San Diego on the West, those teams that are top of the standings for their respective conferences, won't be able to maintain this throughout the rest of the season. As I mentioned, a team like the Union and Nashville got a lot of youth and a lot of new pieces that they are bringing in. And I think the expectation is at some point it's going to catch up to them and that they will maybe drop off. But a team like Inter Miami, who's been top of the MLS ever since Messi stepped foot on this team, you can never count them out. They've got the veterans. They've got him, Busquets, Jordi Alba, a number of all-stars, a number of guys that have won before. So they understand the longevity of the season and how to be a top team when it counts most at the end of the regular season. So I think it's the expectation that there's going to be a switch in the table as we're about halfway through the regular season, that some of those teams that are top might drop off and vice versa. Teams like Orlando and others that are maybe middle of the pack that might make a jump.
Makes sense. Let's move over to the National Football League. I know you guys cover this a ton on your show on Front Office Sports, but the Players Association certainly is undergoing a ton of changes with some controversy and some backlash as well. We've had Lloyd Howell resigning as the executive director. Yesterday, J.C. Tretter resigns from the Players Association as well. I mean, I hate to say, Renee, where there's smoke, there's fire, but these resignations and stepping downs would lead me to believe that some of the things potentially that are being reported are accurate.
Absolutely. Have to give credit to Mike Florio and Pablo Torre, who have been really actively covering this, because we have been seeing when there's smoke, there's fire. And there's a lot going on here in the NFLPA that's been kind of swept under the rug. And I know Will Compton, busting with the boys and former NFL player himself, has mentioned this is messy and we have to be the dumbest union in all of sports because they continue to hire people that are controversial or conflicts of interest. I mean, someone like Lloyd Howell has also now resigned from his role with the Carlisle Group. So resigned from the NFLPA as the executive director as well as the Carlisle Group. And as you mentioned, Tretter was just saying, it's too much. I've got nothing more to give. It's been a lot for my family. I need to step away as well. So I feel like this investigation is only going to continue to uncover maybe some issues that have been underlying with the NFLPA and allow them to reset, maybe put a player in a position of power or just a new voice and see if they can get back on track, because it's been a lot going on there.
Yeah. To expand on this a little bit, here's the thing that's perplexed me as I've read this over the last few weeks is that Howell apparently expends thousands of dollars, including visits. Renee, is this true? To strip clubs and this? I mean, how did anybody? And by the way, I mean, think they could get away with this sort of thing? Like, did they think nobody would notice? It's very bizarre to me.
Yeah, that's the concern, that not only has there been the conflict of interest in Lloyd Howell's role with the Carlisle Group, who has a minority investment stake in the NFL, trying to be a part of some ownership team of teams across the league, but also the fact that Lloyd Howell has been, as you mentioned, brought up in a number of different instances. There's been some sexual harassment types of allegations that have been brought out against him. There's the activities he's had in strip clubs. Now, I don't know exactly what's real and what's not, but there's been a lot of reports that have come out just alluding to the fact that there's more beyond just the conflict of interest with the NFL to also have some other personal ethical issues as well that made him not suitable to be in that leadership role. So it's now led many to question why these types of officials have been put in these positions within the NFLPA in charge of massive decision making for the best of the players union.
All right, let's close it out with some more controversy, so to speak. Very rare to see the president of the United States get involved to this level with sports. The president is urging the Washington Commanders to change their name back to the Washington Redskins. We've heard the same with the Cleveland Guardians, maybe going back to the Cleveland Indians. There's been no indication that that's actually going to happen. But Washington's team, their football team, they used to be called the football team, are looking for a new stadium deal, Renee. I mean, I wonder if this is really going to be some sort of roadblock for them getting it.
And that's what President Donald Trump has mentioned, that he would cause an issue and slow down this process because they do need some public funding in order to get this billion-dollar stadium built that they're looking to have done. So it has been an issue that he's kind of been dangling over their head a little bit, that if they don't revert back to being called the previous name before the Washington Commanders and football team of the Redskins, the controversial name, that he would be in some way involved in delaying that process. Reality is, for Josh Harris and the Washington Commanders, they should be able to still push through with getting the stadium deal done. And also for the Cleveland Guardians, they've come out and said, we're not going back to the name. It's a new culture, new era. We are happy with who we are as the Guardians, and we're going to keep that name as well. So it's very interesting to see these types of issues come up around a president and team name, but here we are.
All right. Well, Renee, some great stuff, and I'm sure we'll catch more of it later today on Front Office Sports. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll take a quick time out and the Sports Grid sound off, hearing from Jerry Jones, owner of the Cowboys, up next.
TJ Watt going to the bank.
I don't remember the last time he had a sack in the last month of that season. And then in the playoffs, he did absolutely nothing. And then you're going to give him $41 million a year, $123 million, what, 108 guaranteed million guaranteed?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
No superstar wants to go to Portland there, so you go, oh, well, Dame actually wants to be back here, and this is going to hurt us. It sort of brings back those vibes when Kobe Bryant was in L.A. Great basketball player, horrendous basketball team, but maybe he could sell a couple extra seats and be a star in the building. That's Dame. And also from a perspective of what Dame wants, Dame just doesn't care about championships, and that's okay. Like, he makes a lot of money. He can do that and continue to lose in Portland. Get out of both ways, I guess.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Again, I mean, I got to tell you, if I'm in that spot, I may do it again, George. I mean, I may take that shot again. Look, when he is healthy, he's the number one pick in fantasy, as good as Barkley or anybody else.
What I'll say about McCaffrey is this. If you draft him and he misses 9 games with injury, you have no one to blame but yourself.
I'll blame you. Just because I can.
Does.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Good news with training camps opening. Get to hear sometimes from the owners in the National Football League. That is the case with Jerry Jones. We'll hear from him. Also, the Cincinnati Bengals with multiple holdouts yet again in another NFL season. And also Dan Campbell ready to roll here with his offense. It's time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. All right, let's begin in Oxnard, California. Jerry Jones on hand as the Cowboys open up another training camp, still arguably the most popular team in the NFL. So when Jerry talks, we all listen. A lot surrounding one particular player. That, of course, is Micah Parsons, who's looking for a new deal in the NFL. Not particularly overwhelmed by signing him to a long-term deal. Some sort of strange comments, always honest, from Jerry Jones, who talked about where Parsons potentially ranks financially and where he could be paid, where he should be paid. Here's a little tip for Jerry Jones. Sometimes it's better to say nothing, but here he is from yesterday's workout.
If you're in that price range, when you're up there in that top 10%, so to speak, of the league, and that top quartile of your team, leadership is really big. And leadership exhibits himself when you're negotiating as well. And so I'm appreciative of Micah being here. I am. And it's incumbent upon us all. We've got a player that we've docked him for not being here during off-season workout, as you well know. And we will fine him for that, because those parts of a contract to go directly toward the leadership that he's is as a player relative to the rest of the team, and certainly, obviously, to our fans as well. So I'm big into, and not alone either, big into showing anything you can do for leadership if you're going to be one of these guys that are in the top drawer of all the money.
J.J. Watt, former NFL player, future Hall of Famer, with some scathing words for Jerry Jones, by the way, after that yesterday on social media, saying not enough support, to say the least, for his star defensive player. Okay, Cincinnati Bengals waiting on Trey Hendrickson to sign, also waiting on Shamar Stewart to report to training camp. Here's Duke Tobin, the director of player personnel for the Bengals, on how badly they need Stewart in camp.
Shamar, I hope Shamar comes in. He needs to be here. The number one thing that a rookie needs is a fast start and a good, productive rookie season. And that normally translates into a long, productive NFL career. And so I would encourage him to be here and start building the bond with his teammates and getting his career started, because he can be a factor for a championship caliber football team, and you don't always get that opportunity. And so I'd like to see him, and I hope he gets here soon.
What's the status with the negotiations on that? I know it's kind of weird with the contracts up inside of it. Where are you all at in terms of trying to get that thing going?
The negotiations, I won't get into all the details of it. I don't blame Shamar. He's listening to the advice that he's paying for. I don't understand the advice. I don't agree with it. I'm not the one paying for it. But that's where it is. If I thought we were treating him unfairly, it would be a different story, but we're treating him fairly with all the rest of the draft picks in this year's draft.
Gotta love shots fired this time of the year. Shots fired, no doubt, there at Shamar Stewart's agent. All right, finally, Dan Campbell had a big retirement on the offensive line this past offseason, and some free agents gone as well. So that means, with, of course, Ben Johnson no longer there, offense could look new, so will the offensive line. Campbell says in terms of protecting the quarterback, there will be an open competition this training camp.
Yeah, well, I think these first, call it 10 days, is going to tell us a lot, by the time we get to the Hall of Fame game, at least in one area of that, and then we got to make a decision there, okay? And then the competition is still open at that point, like, man, working these guards and then, who is playing center. But I think it's kind of a two-part deal. We've got an open competition, guys competing, certainly Tate at center. We're working him in there, see how fast he can get it. I know it's only day one, looked much better than even spring, so getting his feet under him. But as I've said before, we know Graham can slide right in right now, and we don't miss a beat. So, we're just going to keep playing with it, So it's kind of exciting, really, just to see these guys grow and watch them develop and compete, and it's pretty good. It's a good group. Hank's going to do a great job. He always does.
More NFL discussion coming up with Adam Caplan, but first let's take a quick time out. We're joined by Joe Pisapia of SportsGrid, talking some baseball.
T.J. Watt going to the bank.
I don't remember the last time he had a sack in the last month of that season. And then in the playoffs, he did absolutely nothing. And then you're going to give him $41 million a year, $123 million, what, 108 guaranteed million guaranteed?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
No superstar wants to go to Portland there, so you go, oh, well, Dame actually wants to be back here, and this is going to hurt us. It sort of brings back those vibes where Kobe Bryant was in L.A. Great basketball player, horrendous basketball team, but maybe he could sell a couple extra seats and be a star in the building. That's Dame. And also from a perspective of what Dame wants, Dame just doesn't care about championships, and that's okay. Like, he makes a lot of money. He can do that and continue to lose in Portland. Get out of both ways, I guess.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Again, I mean, I got to tell you, if I'm in that spot, I may do it again, George. I mean, I may take that shot again. Look, when he is healthy, he's the number one pick in fantasy, as good as Barkley or anybody else.
What I'll say about McCaffrey is this. If you draft him and he misses 9 games with injury, you have no one to blame but yourself.
I'll blame you. Just because I can.
Does.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's bring in Joe Pisapia. You can catch him each and every weekend exclusively here on SportsGrid for Fantasy Sports Today, talking some baseball and some football as well. Joe, great to have you back here on NewsWire as we get ready for one of the most exciting times in baseball, the trade deadline. I know you can't wait, neither can I.
Yes, this is great. Certainly there's the teams that are in it and the ones that are certainly not. The problem is this expanded playoff format has really slow the trade market. A lot of teams think, well, maybe give it one more week and we'll see where we are. Or we're going to play 500 baseball, maybe one more week and see where we are. And then they kind of play 500 baseball. So some hard decisions have to happen soon for teams like the Cardinals, teams like the Texas Rangers. So we shall see in the days ahead who blinks first. And my guess is certainly Arizona will be the first to market. That would be my guess. Craig, how about you?
Yeah, look, Arizona's playing good baseball right now. It's kind of hard to rule them out at this point. It's very, you're right. You just can't really decide until next week. That's why there's been no trades whatsoever going into the deadline next week. Blue Jays, let's get into them. I would imagine, Joe, that they got to try here a little bit. They're generally not in this position, which is in first place. Several game lead now over the Yankees. I don't think they're pulling away by any stretch, but they are up a few. They're favored to win the division after winning again last night 4-1. They've been playing incredible at home. Red Sox are sitting there at 54 and 48. Rays not that far behind either. Don't feel like this is over by any stretch, Joe. Those moves that come next week could be the ones that put them over the top.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's been so important, and we talked about this on In-Game Live on the weekend on Saturday, Joe Ranieri and I kept pointing out how good the back half of the lineup has been in cycling things over, right? So you've got Addison Barger, who's had a terrific season. Ernie Clement has been terrific. Joey Loperfido, the former Houston prospect, has been a contributor. So they've turned this lineup over. Heck, even Alejandro Kirk, right? Doesn't look like he's going to do much, but man, oh man, that guy just keeps getting it done. So it's put the guys at the top like George Springer and Vlad Guerrero in good spots. I would like to see them add another bat. Problem is, Craig, they already did this offseason. That's Anthony Santander. So it's just a matter of waiting for him to get healthy. The question is that going to happen this year? And is there patience to allow that? That's the big question the Blue Jays have to ask themselves. They paid a lot of money for him. They paid money for Scherzer. They extended Vlad Guerrero Jr. So I don't know how much more money is left in the tank for them to really acquire more assets. If you look at the rotation with Barrios, Gossman, Scherzer, Bassett, Eric Lauers pitched very well there. Could they use another arm? Probably. But I think the Blue Jays are pretty much set. I don't see them doing a whole lot at the trade deadline, maybe adding another bullpen arm or another rotation depth starter, but nothing that's going to really make a huge impact. I think they're hoping and waiting for Anthony Santander to be that missing bat in the lineup. Time will tell if he can be just that, because that is the big difference between them hanging at first place and then falling back into the pack with the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Yeah, very well said there. Meanwhile, there is no back of the pack for the Brewers, Joe. Think about where they were a couple of months ago to where they are now. 11 wins in a row. They are the talk of baseball, and it does feel like every year they're in the mix. What a credit to the organization, just constantly finding different and new ways to win. And, I'm sure the Mets, by the way, Joe, are hoping the guy that used to run things there do that for the Mets too. But I digress. Right now, they are plus 105 to win the Central after beating Seattle last night. 7.5 to win the NL, and to win the World Series, they're 16-1. Joe, the thing with these sort of teams is they're fun, they're scrappy, they win, but generally speaking, they don't capture World Series titles. And I know that feels like it's strong and it's an indictment on the team, and it's really not. I'm just being honest. Like, it feels like they're gonna make the playoffs, Joe. They're gonna make a run, but how far can they go?
Well, my Milwaukee Brewers, and I will call them my Milwaukee Brewers because everybody left them for dead in the spring. Oh, the Brewers are so far out of it, the Brewers can't catch up. And if you locked it in, if you're watching FSD on Sundays at plus 750, you're loving life right now. But Craig has a great point, which is this is a team that plays well in the regular season. How do they perform in the postseason? That's another question. Now, bullpen is okay. Could they use another piece there? Absolutely. The rotation is absolutely playoff worthy. I think a lot of teams would be fearing having to face Peralta, Woodruff, the way he's pitched recently. He has been absolutely spectacular since his return. I can't believe he only went 65 pitches yesterday and pitched so well. I don't know what that was all about, when he turned to a pumpkin at 6 innings now, but whatever, it's fine. And then Jacob Mizorowski as well. This is the team that I think has that glaring hole at third base. I know Durbin has played pretty well, but to me, he's more of a guy that's an extra. So Suarez is the guy. That, I think, is the difference maker. You add Suarez to this lineup from Arizona, pair him with Yelich and Churio. Now you've got a much more formidable 1-2-3 punch in the middle of that order. And to me, that would be the game changer here. That would be the thing that would be the worst case scenario for the Cubs. And I know the Cubs have kicked the tires on him too, from all reports, but do they have the prospects to offer? That's the question. Milwaukee certainly does. It's a little bit more complicated with the Chicago Cubs where they're going to go. But to me, Suarez is the one that maybe can put them in that conversation. And look, that pitching is so good. You've seen what they've done to the Dodgers. You've seen, they can handle the Mets. They can handle the Phillies with that rotation too. So again, Milwaukee's a playoff team. I think Milwaukee wins that division. I'm staying consistent with that since the preseason all the way till now. I have not wavered in it. But I do believe that without that other big bat, whether it be a Suarez or somebody else, I don't know if they have enough to get to the World Series.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but who knows how they can position themselves between now and next Friday. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are going to need some help here, and maybe even a little more than they thought. Last night, their closer, who they signed in the offseason to a very big contract, Tanner Scott, left with a forearm issue. He's going to have an MRI today, and generally, how these things go, but let's wait before we get ahead of ourselves. And the other part of this, Joe, is that the Dodgers win total now for the season currently is under 100, 98.5. So, naturally they go a little bit over that and they get to 100. But, the question that I guess I have, Joe, is do you think, and I asked this, I forget, yesterday, the day before, do you think this is just a sleepwalking team, like a Yankees team in the 90s that just basically is like, we want to make sure we tune it up, get ready in September? Or is there something to be said for July losses in baseball? Although they did win yesterday.
Craig, you could even say they're just like the Houston Astros last year, right? Didn't they kind of sleepwalk through the first 3 or 4 months of the season and they flipped the switch and went to the playoffs like always? I do think there's a bit of that, but I also think when you're the team that's had more starting pitchers take the mound for you than any other team this year, it has put a tax on the bullpen artificially early. A bullpen tax you didn't want to necessarily add in June and July, especially when you had designs on those guys pitching in October. So they're at kind of a weird crossroads. The good news is they have Kirby Yates already in-house who has closing experience. Trinan's in there. They've got a couple other arms where they can just pivot right to them. And I think Yates, especially early on, will be the default guy. The big question now looms, do the Dodgers want to go out and make a big play for a Johan Duran? Do they want to move Jose DePaula? Do they want to move an Alex Freeland? One of those big prospects they have. just to bring in a closer. Now, to bring in a closer that you can keep for an extra year, perhaps, but this was a very dangerous thing. And Tanner Scott had blown a lot of saves recently too, so this is not a huge surprise. My guess is this arm issue was lingering for quite some time. The Dodgers must have known it, and finally it came to a head yesterday. So the MRI, certainly not a good path here. Usually bad things will come from that. And my guess is you won't see Tanner Scott again the rest of season. The question is it going to be just Kirby Yates, or are they going to bring in somebody else? Could it even be a reuniting with a guy like Kenley Jansen, right, who's been in that Dodger organization before? Probably wouldn't cost as much prospect capital to bring in a veteran closer. So I think it's more likely they go that route than cashing in on the minor league guys in order to fill that closer role this year. But they need Glass now to continue to do what he's doing. They need Ohtani to get stretched out. They desperately need Blake Snell, who looked really good in the rehab, start to come back and pitch in the end, or at least the end of July, beginning of August, which seems like that's where we're going. So now we're in a good spot here where you can start to lengthen the rotation, take a little tax off that bullpen. But the question is, has the damage already been done? We won't find out until October.
Yeah, good question there. We'll catch Joe on Sunday morning on Fantasy Sports Today. Make sure you catch that show as well as mine with George Kurtz on Saturday morning. In addition, Fantasy Black Book I know on sale. For those of you getting ready for the fantasy season, you need some help, you could lean once again on Joe Pisapia.
Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for having me.
I thought you had something to say. I saw the little finger up there. I thought you were going to correct me.
I was just pointing to the
it's on
book.
sale.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, product placement. There it is, right by my beautiful bald head. That's all. Fun.
Oh, that's what it was. I thought you were like stopping me to say, and for $5, if you sign up now, you'll get $5 off immediately. Let me set you up. I was wrong. Didn't see it over the head. I just have nothing here.
Your approach with Marion Hampton is, if you're going to draft him aggressively and early, you better be patient, because it might take half a season before he really takes over this backfield, and it might never happen this year, depending on how Harris performs. Gadsden and Disley so far not fantasy relevant at this time. Again, a more run-heavy offense. Hampton and Najee Harris, very intriguing, but the ADP, I think, on both of them is slightly off.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Big Fish is the best player in the WNBA. She is running away with the MVP award. Why is that? Caitlin Clark, injured. Asia Wilson, not playing at Asia Wilson level, but it's more about the fact about what's around her has been an issue. So to me, Fish is almost like the MVP because everyone else has gone down in some way, shape, or form.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I think he's on easily the back nine of his career at this point. A lot of fans I see on social media saying, "Oh, we got to sign this guy. We got to sign this guy." Something left here with Noah Fant? What gives?
I think they were ready to move on from him as a veteran, but I think Fant is like a number 2 tight end for a contender who can play a lot. I think that would interest me, and I've almost been looking around trying to find a good landing spot for him, and I've settled on what if he were to go back to the Broncos and sort of back up Evan Ingram.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Our Sports Grid insider, Adam Caplan, getting ready for his long, winding road trip around the National Football League and their training camps. And so let's bring in Adam for a little preview of that and go over the latest in the NFL. Adam, great to have you back here on NewsWire. As officially this weekend, everybody will be in camp. We've got our first preseason game next week. We've arrived.
Yeah, Craig, it's interesting because this is the first time that I can remember
that every team is pretty much in the first week. It's usually not. They usually do it sporadically. As a matter of fact, you had teams in 10 days ago with the rookies, but every team will be working by the end of the week. That's a great thing, and I'm glad that we're getting it started earlier.
Yeah, definitely so. All right, so give Jerry Jones credit. He never holds back. I will say that he's always a good interview, very polarizing. We'll start with the Cowboys here out in California. The one thing that Jerry just makes no apologies about is himself, and so he's going to say what he feels. But in that press conference yesterday, I kind of got a little mixed messaging there about Micah Parsons and whether or not he really wants to hand over that bag to him in the future. What did you get from that, Adam? It was a little strange.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I was warned about the press conference. Someone that I trust told me, said, you got to hear what Jerry said today. He was in rare form. I'm like, all right, I'll listen to it. And man, he took a shot at Parsons in a way, because he brought up Dak Prescott, which is obviously a shot, because he was like, well, we signed this guy to this huge deal, and he was gone for 2/3 of the season. There was no point in doing that. But as you mentioned, Craig, this is Jerry being Jerry. This is nothing new for him. It was just the way that he went about it in Oxnard, California. I've been to their camp many times. It's always fascinating to see what Jerry's going to say and hear it as well if you're in person. But look, here's the deal. Parsons is going to want to beat the TJ Watt deal. And here's the thing. They want to get it done. He wants to get it done. But as I've learned with Jerry Jones is, you're not on your own time. You're on his time. When he decides he's going to get involved with the agent, David Mulugeta, and Todd Williams so far is their contract negotiator. He's the one who's been sort of the point man. But Jerry's the general manager and owner. So they haven't got to that point yet. Once they get to that point, the thing's going to roll. We think it's going to get done. A lot of people I've spoken to think it's going to get done at some point in training camp, but it's not a lock. Now, here's the thing. If you're Micah Parsons, you're on your fifth-year option. You're not playing for anything less. You shouldn't be playing for anything less than TJ Watt. You don't want to take the risk. And the only way you could minimize the risk is withhold services by holding out, which he's not doing right now. But it's a situation to watch. There's no question about it. And look, the edge rusher group knows it. The TJ Watt deal, Craig, I'm going to tell you this. Talking to some people I trust around the league, it was bigger and richer than a lot of people thought it would be. For a guy who turns 31 this fall, to go $41 million is the biggest non-quarterback contract in NFL history, is not something that you would think for a guy as old as TJ Watt is, but he's a great football player and probably going to be a Hall of Famer.
Wow. Yeah, no, I mean, look, I still think Watt is the biggest impact player on defense, but I really didn't put into that context with age. So, I don't know how to compare, the family of the Browns and their ownership group here, Adam, to anybody else, because every year it feels like this is the one organization that has players holding out. And in this day and age of the National Football League and the salary cap and the amount of money that these teams are making, and look, there's always going to be issues with different players throughout the years, but why does it always feel, am I wrong, Adam, that it's a Bengals player every year that is the subject of some sort of holdout?
Well, we had the hold-in of Jamar Chase. We've had T. Higgins got his deal this year, but they couldn't figure out what to do with T. Higgins, and they made a decision. They got criticized around the league. Why are you paying a number 2 receiver, very good, who's had a big injury history in T. Higgins? He's a very good football player, but why are you choosing to prioritize him rather than Trey Hendrickson, your star pass rusher? And he is vastly underpaid right now. There's no question about it. Making well under $20 million. That's not right. I mean, he should be making mid to high $30 million per season. Now, one thing I do want to inform people, and this goes to what you're talking about with money and cash. It's all about cash. Is the NFL's funding rule, where almost all fully guaranteed money needs to be put into an escrow account. You think about all the guaranteed money for Joe Burrow, fully guaranteed money, that is, not the injury guarantees. It's the full money it's signing, right? Full guarantees. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, okay? And they're eventually going to get a deal done with Hendrickson. I couldn't tell you when that is. Though they've made progress, they feel pretty good about it, where it's headed. But Trey Hendrickson, is not there. He's subject to a daily fine of $50,000 per day. So you have to take a look at that. But they want to get this done. And here's where his leverage is, though, Craig. Sam Hubbard, the other starting defensive end, retired, right? Surprisingly, he retired. Mm-hmm. Miles Murphy, their third-year first-round pick, right, in 23. Out of Clemson, hasn't worked out yet. Joe Tsai's a pretty good backup, but he's not a starting level edge rusher. So they've got a problem right now. And it goes to your point. They let things go. And but then they eventually get it done. But sometimes it's ugly. Now, if this drags out, and I know Mike Brown said they're not trading him, and I get that. I lived this in 2018 when the Raiders flat out told me they weren't going to trade Khalil Mack. John Gruden thought that Mack might hold out into the season. He never said he would. And he told Reggie McKenzie, John Gruden did, to trade Khalil Mack, and he did to the Bears.
I think that's kind of the dynamic here, Adam, is that, anytime a player wants a new contract or needs a new contract, it usually ends one way or the other, doesn't it? It's either a new deal or it's a trade. Now, we have seen players, I think it was, who was the player that was holding out for the Jets and then he got traded last year? Hassan Reddick, was it?
Hassan Reddick.
He was holding
Hassan Reddick from Philly to the
That's
Jets.
like an unusual thing, right?
Well, that was weird because he told the Jets that he'd be in camp and he'd play the deal out, and he wound up not doing it. He changed agents. But let me just give you an idea. And I don't take sides here, but Trey Henderson's only making $15.8 million in cash. That's ridiculous. I mean, come on. You're talking about he's got to get paid more than double what he's making, well more than that, to make it right.
Adam, it'll be a great, I think, training camp to catch along the ride wherever you're headed. We will catch up with you and get full reports from everywhere around the league. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire, and have a safe trip. We'll catch up next week.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Adam Caplan, our SportsGrid insider. By the way, you can download the SportsGrid app for your iPhone or Android, and it'll tell you exactly where Adam Caplan is headed and what teams he'll be covering. And he'll be making appearances for us on behalf of SportsGrid, covering the National Football League. Stay on the grid. We'll be back with some last licks next. Don't go away.
TJ Watt going to the bank.
I don't remember the last time he had a sack in the last month of that season. And then in the playoffs, he did absolutely nothing. And then you're going to give him $41 million a year, $123 million, what, 108 million guaranteed?
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
No superstar wants to go to Portland there, so you go, oh, well, Dame actually wants to be back here, and this is going to hurt us. It sort of brings back those vibes where Kobe Bryant was in L.A. Great basketball player, horrendous basketball team, but maybe he could sell a couple extra seats and be a star in the building. That's Dame. And also from the perspective of what Dame wants, Dame just doesn't care about championships, and that's okay. Like, he makes a lot of money. He can do that and continue to lose in Portland. Get out of both ways, I guess.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Again, I mean, I got to tell you, if I'm in that spot, I may do it again, George. I mean, I may take that shot again. Look, when he is healthy, he's the number one pick in fantasy, as good as Barkley or anybody else.
What I'll say about McCaffrey is this. If you draft him and he misses 9 games with injury, you have no one to blame but yourself.
I blame you. Just because I can.
Everyone else does.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As we get ready to wrap up the show, a legend in the world of tennis returns to the court. Also, very bizarre scene. The Chicago Cubs, not sure if you caught that, but I'll give it to you. And also a fun scene for the Cincinnati Reds on the mound and their manager and one of their players. It's time now for some last licks. All right, we'll begin with one of the greatest tennis players of all time, Venus Williams, who is now 45 years old, 23-time Grand Slam champ, 7 in singles, 16 in doubles with her sister, made her return to the tennis court yesterday, 16 months later after getting started, and alongside Haley Baptiste, reaches the quarterfinals in Washington, winning 6-3, 6-1. Incredible. So now Venus is going to play her first singles round today to see if she can keep this going a little bit. And apparently was hitting the ball really well and hitting the ball very hard. And now Venus says after her match yesterday, she doesn't see any reason why her sister, Serena Williams, can't come out of retirement and play as well. So, I mean, look, anything certainly is possible here. A lot harder in the singles than it is in doubles. That's to say the least. All the action is going to be hers, but she'll play today in round 1, and we'll report back tomorrow and see how she does. But give credit, by the way, to her for making this comeback, because sometimes 35, 36 years old, okay, fine. I mean, 45 years old for a tennis player is getting up there. So congrats to her for picking up her first win in several years. Now, congrats to Craig Counsell for going after an umpire last night. Really bizarre scene last night for the Cubs, as they had a player who had a violation yesterday for taking too long to get back to the plate. His name is Seiya Suzuki. And that's not unusual because sometimes this does happen. But with 2 strikes, Suzuki fouled a ball off, and he fouled it off where you don't want to foul it off, if you know what I'm saying. I'm going to just call it the groin area, okay? So he fouled it off, walked away, and was just trying to catch his breath. It was trying to come to himself a little bit. Well, the home plate umpire allowed him to do that, but then about 10 seconds after time ran out, called him out and said that he needed to be back and engaged being at the plate, and it was a clock violation. So Craig Counsell was not having any of this. He goes to the mound and afterwards said that, look, I mean, the guy got hit. What, for an injury, we don't give a guy extra time? I mean, apparently not in this situation. And this, to me, is one of those things where don't like to call the umpires out, feel like they all do a good job, and it is the human element of the game, which I will miss if they do decide to go to the robot umps. But in this case, come on, read the room a little bit. Guy got hit in the, in that spot. Give him some extra time to get ready. That would be my opinion. All right, finally, a fun scene last night. Not a fun game for the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati Reds ended up losing last night, but there was a fun. Now, if you have not seen Ellie De La Cruz and you didn't see him at the All-Star game, he's becoming somewhat of a character, kind of a fun guy. In fact, he was live streaming during the Home Run Derby. I don't even know if he's allowed to do that, but he was live streaming on Instagram, kind of like showing everything happening, showing all the conversations. Pretty funny. So last night during a pitching change for the Cincinnati Reds, De La Cruz, who is an infielder, goes to the mound like everybody else does. All the infield usually goes when they make a pitching change. De La Cruz grabs the glasses like these, and they are red too. How about this? And grabs the glasses, puts them on. I'm going to go through the motions here since we can't show the video. Puts them on like this and goes, whoa, Terry Francona, what do you got here? You got Coke bottles for glasses here? I can't even see. Funny moment last night in Cincinnati. And I got to tell you, as somebody who has never worn glasses for their entire life, that's me, and had to pick up a pair of reading glasses in the last year, don't make fun, Ellie, because eventually you may have to be wearing these too. You never know. That'll do it for our show today. Thanks to Renee Washington from Front Office Sports for coming on the program. We'll tell you more about their show, which is coming up later. Also, thanks to our SportsGrid NFL insider, Adam Caplan, for talking some training camp with us, and also Joe Pisapia on some Major League Baseball. As I mentioned, our schedule the rest of the day, keep it right here, locked to SportsGrid, because 12 o'clock Eastern, we've got Smiley Kaufman chopping up some golf. Another tournament coming up this week, so we'll have the very latest following the British Open. That's followed by Scott Farrell at 3 o'clock Eastern. He's got you coast to coast from 3 to 6. Front Office Sports, as I mentioned, 6 to 6:30 tonight, so stay tuned for that show. It is followed by Game Time Decisions, in-game live game day, and then Sports Rage tonight, recapping everything happening in the world of sports and sports betting. Fun show today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks to our director, Luke, and for my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back here for our Wednesday edition of NewsWire, exclusively here on SportsGrid, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. Have a great rest of your day.